Hey guys, Coach Hunter here today with our start of our Grappling Fundamentals series. So I think that grappling is an incredibly fun and rewarding sport to get into, and is, for me, one of my favorite aspects of the whole of martial arts. I think that it is an incredibly deep thing to learn. That is to say, like, it's deep as in there's a lot of technique, there's a lot of stuff there, in the same sense that like kickboxing or striking is sort of like checkers, in that there's a set number of moves, and you can really kind of teach someone the big moves in like an hour class, whereas grappling is so much bigger in that there are many different types of move, and they're all very discrete, and so it's really impossible to teach anyone like in one class kind of like here's what grappling is per se. But I want to give you guys the concept of it, because I have a lot of people come to me sometimes and I take it for granted because I've done it so long that I have an intuitive understanding of what grappling is about. But I think a lot of times people kind of need to be told sometimes, like, what are we actually trying to do here, okay? So to me, the thing about grappling is that it's different from striking in an important respect, that you have a continuous line of force options. What I mean is you can do anything from kind of just keeping someone from like grabbing you and controlling you, so defensive only. You can take someone and control them without really hurting them in a really serious, violent way. You can pin someone down and put them in some kind of joint lock, so potentially, use pain compliance, or even breaking a limb, okay? Or choking someone unconscious, which sounds horrible, but is way less violent when you think about it than knocking them out. Generally speaking, when you choke someone unconscious, they're fine after. So they come back and they're okay, you know what I mean? So choking is, I guess, sounds horrible, but really is actually almost nicer than it's like beating someone up and knocking them out. It also allows you to get into positions where you can strike in a grappling context. So if you're doing like MMA or you need it, you can always also knock them out, right? So I mean, it gives you so many different options, whereas striking is binary. You either hit them or you don't. And if you try to hit them halfway, you're really just throwing a bad punch. You know what I mean? There's not like a non-violent striking art form, or rather a minimally violent striking art form. And anytime you punch somebody, that can be deadly. You hit someone in the head, even if they don't knock them out, they just fall over, hit their head on the concrete, they could die, right? Whereas with grappling, it's different. And the other thing about grappling I think is also interesting is that anyone can throw a lucky punch and knock someone out, okay? I could run up to Mike Tyson and punch him, and especially if you didn't see me coming, and potentially knock him out, right? Whereas with grappling, it's not at all the same. I think that at a certain level, when someone gets good enough, there is just no way an untrained person can out-grapple them, okay? Now, size differences make a difference. So, like, if you're a very small person trying to grapple a very large person, I've heard it said that every 20 pounds of weight difference makes a belt level. I don't think it's that extreme. Maybe 40 pounds or so. So, if you're a tiny black belt going up against a 300-pound untrained person, sometimes that can be difficult because just the weight and size difference. But still, I'd much rather bet on the small black belt in most cases. That said, guys, I think it's a very different thing, and it's very hard to intuit grappling kind of on the fly, right? Whereas everyone kind of understands striking on an intuitive level. I think you hit someone, right? It's pretty simple. So what is grappling like? What is the actual goal? Is to control your opponent, and even more importantly, the practice of it is learning to control yourself, learning how to move your body in space in a place that's not normal. In our normal daily lives, we are laying down in bed, we sit up in a chair, we're standing on our feet, moving around, okay? We all understand how to move in those spaces pretty well. But grappling, we move in so many different ways, in so many different planes, right? We have to use our legs as actively as our arms. We have to use our legs as arms, right? We have to use our head and our neck and our spine as a tool, as a limb. And so it really teaches you body awareness and control in a way that other martial arts just don't, I think. So what is like the goal of grappling? Like, broadly speaking, is this. People are most dangerous when they're on their feet, right? And I think it's easy to understand this in that the first thing they do when they put you in prison is they shackle your legs together so you cannot move freely with your legs. As soon as your legs are stuck together, you're pretty helpless, okay? It's really important to understand that someone on their feet is much more dangerous than someone on their back, okay? And I think it makes kind of intuitive sense. So the first goal is typically to take someone who's trying to attack you and take them off their feet, okay? So usually it's a takedown, some kind of throw, whatever it is, okay? Next, we move past their legs to a pinning position, okay? We want to think about pinning them to the ground so they cannot just get back up, because just putting someone down doesn't necessarily mean they're going to stay down. So once we get to a pinning position, now the question is, what do we want to do, right? What's our goal? Do we want to pin them in like a wrestling context, like in a high school wrestling context? You can try to pinning. If nothing else, pinning is controlling somebody. Someone pinned to their back, not likely to be able to hurt you too much, okay? Next, if we want to go further, we can think about beating them in a grappling sense with a submission hold of some kind. If they tap out, that means we win in a grappling context or in an MMA context. We can also get to a position, like in most dominant positions, where we can strike. And that's usually how we kind of break those down, beyond just control what we have. So if we flow from taking someone off their feet, getting past their legs, to a pinning or dominant position, from there we have options, right? We can just hold them there. If your buddy is drunk and kind of getting rowdy, we can hold them down and say, hey, chill out, right? Next, if someone's more dangerous, we can try to submit them, right? And I'd say that the best submission to think about in general is a strangle. And the reason is that there are people who are super tough. You can punch them in the head all day, they won't go down. They don't care about pain, a joint lock. Even if you break their arm, they're just gonna keep fighting. Maybe they're out of their mind or high on PCP, right? They won't respond to that kind of like incentive or disincentive or that kind of pain. But a strangle does not care if you're tough, does not care if you're motivated, does not care how much will or fight you have in you, okay? Everyone needs oxygen and blood flowing to the brain in order to function. If you cut that off for any length of time, they will go unconscious. It does not matter, okay? You'll see that, world title fights, people get strangled unconscious all the time. It's not their choice, it's just physics, it's just nature, it's just biology. So to me, focusing on the strangle at first for in a self-defense context is the way to go. So guys, and that's a power that is different. Like whereas you can throw your best punch at somebody and knock him out, but the next guy, he may have a head of rock. You can't knock him out, but you can definitely strangle. So just something to think about. I think that these concepts are sometimes like a little bit hard to understand. That's why I wanted to lay it out for you guys. So if that makes sense to you guys, please let us know. If you're still confused, please let us know in the comments. You can send me a message if you're like, hey, this made no sense to me, Hunter, and I can try again. But I really think that I have it here distilled to kind of what grappling is all about, guys. So like this video and subscribe to see all of our content. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you on the mats. Go.